My name is Celeste Rowan. Age in the original script is not specified. I'm keeping that unchanged. My mother said, "We're only inviting you out of pity, so don't stay long." I didn't argue. I set down my glass, let the ice clink once, clean, final, and left. 2 weeks from tonight, they will find out I sold the family cabin they all counted on for summer vacations. But that decision begins here, in a room that gleamed like a catalog and smelled faintly of expensive candles and envy. The words didn't arrive as a scream. They came as my mother's favorite weapon, casual cruelty lacquered in charm. My sister's laugh followed, quick and sharp, a judge's gavel disguised as a giggle. My brother's wife watched me over the rim of a crystal glass, assessing, already filing me under less than. My brother, with his arm thrown over her shoulder, grinned into his scotch. Their jewelry caught the chandelier and turned into tiny flashes of approval for each other. "Don't stay long," Mom said again, already turning away, already talking to someone more worthy. I finished my whiskey, slow, deliberate. Let it warm a path down my throat I could follow out of their house. Once I would have stayed and tried to earn a softer tone, a kinder glance, a seat closer to the center. Once I thought love was performance and the prize was permission to belong. That ship didn't just sail, I burned it at sea. I left through the side door into the crisp night, heels ticking like a metronome across the stone path. My phone buzzed. Group text, a cousin's birthday reminder, a meme about family first. I slid the phone back into my bag and drove. By the time I reached my small apartment, the humiliation had cooled into something clearer. Not rage, not revenge, a blueprint. I set a legal pad on the kitchen table, scarred wood, one stubborn coffee ring like a bruise, and wrote, "Sell the cabin." I'd almost forgotten it was mine. Years ago, my grandparents put the title in my name. The place was cedar and summers, and the soft glow of fireflies. Then my parents quietly adopted it, their family retreat, their friends lounging on Adirondack chairs, my invitations lost or late or, "You know how small the place is." They curated memories there without me, on property with my name on the deed. The next morning, I called Dan, my real estate attorney, the one who pulled me through a tricky closing a few years back. He answered on the third ring, voice sleep rough. "Rowan," he said, "it's barely 8. "Got a quiet project," I said. "Remember the cabin my grandparents titled to me? It's time." A pause. "Your parents use that spot, right?" "They do," I said, and let the smile reach my voice. "But they don't own it. I do. List it discreetly. No chatter. Fast." Professional mode clicked in like a lock turning. "Send me the deed. HOA docs, if any. Last tax statement. I'll keep it off radar until we're deep enough that backing out hurts." "That's why I pay you," I said. After we hung up, I pulled the old metal file drawer open and dug past half-kept budgets and expired warranties until the deed surfaced. Yellowed, faintly cedar-scented, my grandparents' handwriting like a soft blessing in the margins. I scanned everything: deed, taxes, the ancient map with the little star my grandfather drew by the dock. The scanner whirred like a tiny, obedient engine. With each page that slid into a PDF, the plan went from fantasy to file. I emailed Dan, subject line cabin, docs attached. Then I sat very still and listened to the quiet. It sounded like consent I finally gave myself. A text from Adam lit my phone. "How did last night go?" Adam doesn't ask to insert himself. He asks because he knows I won't lie. "I left early," I typed. Pity invitation. A beat. Then, "Want coffee later? Or a long drive with bad gas station snacks?" I smiled into the screen. "Later. I'm working on something." "Proud of you already," he wrote. Another notification. Different energy. Vanessa, his ex, liked my 3-week-old post of a lake silhouette. Vanessa loves to orbit a story before she rewrites it. She still knows half the church friends my parents have dinner with. She still shows up in rooms I leave. Let her look, let her guess. I made a second list. Audit accounts with my name. Change two-factor on everything. Find the soft places they left sharp. I brewed coffee in the chipped French press and let the bitterness clean the taste of last night from my mouth. The cabin wasn't about money, though money would be nice. It was about removing the stage they performed their goodness on. It was about not leaving my name where other people could weaponize it. Dan called back before noon. "We can move quickly," he said. "I have a cash buyer who loves lake property if the inspection's not a horror show. We'll do a quiet showing." Paper trail stays slim until we open escrow. Do it, I said. Celeste, he added, lawyer voice softened. You're sure about the fallout? I pictured the chandelier, the diamonds, the smile that told me to leave. Very. He laughed once, low. Then let's cause a little weather. I spent the afternoon scanning the last pages, signing the engagement letter, and dropping my signature where the cursor told me. I watched the blue dots disappear as each document locked. I put the deed back in its sleeve like laying a saint back into glass. By evening, the legal pad had more ink. Joint accounts, old car loan ghost, utilities. Estate counsel, know my rights before they perform a miracle. Silence, talk to no one who loves drama more than truth. The apartment smelled like printer ink and coffee and the pizza Adam brought over. He leaned against the counter, still in his work jacket, watching me move through the kitchen like a storm I finally chose. You're different, he said, not like a question. I'm done auditioning, I said. He nodded. Good. Want me on standby for family fallout? Not yet. They can't see this coming. His smile tilted. Vanessa liked your lake photo. Of course she did. You okay with that? I'm okay with everyone watching, I said. I'm just done performing. He came close, pressed his forehead to mine for a breath. The apartment windows rattled once, train on the tracks, a city exhaling. After he left, I stood in the doorway to my small living room and felt a seam inside me stitch. 2 weeks from now, bank statements will start arriving in a different color. Their joint conveniences will hiccup. A lawyer's letter will be carried across their perfect kitchen by a woman with a perfect manicure who doesn't know she's delivering a confession. But for now, the only sound was the tiny ping of Dan's email. Subject, offer likely this week. Keep phones quiet. I turned my phone face down, wrote one last line at the bottom of the legal pad, and underlined it twice. No more apologies for peace. Banks don't roar when they change a life. They ping. The first ping arrived just after sunrise while the kettle began its soft complaint on my stove. Fraud alert? No. A quieter thing. Profile activity noted. Multi-factor reissued. Mailing address confirmed. I took it as a nod from the universe. Then I opened my laptop and began the audit. The past has a paper trail if you're rude enough to look it in the eye. Old car loan, for convenience. A lingering utility auto draft from a city I hadn't lived in for years. A household credit line with my name on the dotted line like a ghost who co-signed out of gratitude. My mother loved that word, convenience, because it made capture sound like kindness. I made a grid on my legal pad. Left column, account. Middle, what it touches. Right, action. Then I started carving. Joint checking. Legacy, close. Cabin utilities, detach. Ownership change in flight, kill the autopay. Emergency household card. Remove authorized user, me. I never used it. They loved that I might. 2-factor on everything. Reset to my phone, my email, my lockbox codes. Each move was small enough to look harmless and precise enough to bleed. 100 paper cuts make a river. By noon, the emails were stacking. Notice of change. Authorization removed. Payment method declined. Somewhere across town, a dishwasher cycle would hum to the end and blink at a payment that didn't run. A porch light would forget to charge the auto draft that always came at midnight. The cabin's property tax poll would hit a closed door and announce itself with a polite red exclamation point. Dan called between his back-to-backs. Quiet showing went clean, he said. Buyer's serious, no hiccups, inspection early next week. You're moving. Good, I said. I'm trimming the vines. Expect noise, he warned, but he was smiling with his voice. You knew that. I did. Noise is what people make when control leaves their throat. At 2:07 p.m., my phone lit with Lauren. Are you messing with accounts? Mom's card didn't work at Gray & Co. She's mortified. I let the message glow and go dark. 2:19 p.m. Mom, we need to talk about some strange bank activity. You may have been hacked. Call me immediately. 2:21 p.m. Celeste, this is serious. 2:22 p.m. Be an adult and pick up. I brewed tea. Adam pinged me a photo of a golden retriever asleep under a cafe table. Emergency therapy dog if you need one. All good, I wrote back. Today is paperwork with better posture. 3:03 p.m. A new sender slid into my inbox with a tone that smelled like potpourri and power. Donna, faith, and family. Sweet girl, your mother is beside herself. We all stumble. Let's not burn bridges we might need later. I know a counselor. Delete. By 4, the property tax auto draft for the cabin failed. With a cheerful, "We'll try again" banner, the second attempt would land tomorrow and the emails would sharpen. I pictured the scene the way I knew it would go. My mother at the kitchen island, immaculate as a magazine spread, stabbing her phone with one finger while my father performed calm, the kind of calm that makes everyone else move their hands faster. A DM popped from Vanessa. 3 dots. Nothing. 3 dots again. She settled on liking an old photo of mine from a lakeshore pier and followed it with a single heart to a story where I was just pouring coffee. The woman has social reach like Ivy. She never says war, she sends a casserole. She and my mother once linked arms at a charity auction and looked so similar from behind that I watched strangers confuse one for the other all night. "We're only inviting you out of pity," my mother had said. The pity burned off. The clarity didn't. I called a number I'd tucked in the margin of my pad. Harris and Cole, estate. Harris has been my father's lawyer longer than I've been an adult. I remember him at Thanksgiving, napkin on his knee like armor, listening while my family listed assets as if they were virtues. "Harris," he answered crisp. "This is Celeste Rowan," I said. "I'd like to understand the contours of my rights. I'm not contesting anything. I'm planning to avoid surprises." A measured pause. The leather chair creaked in my imagination. "Of course, you kiss," he said. "We can review status, titling, beneficiaries, standard housekeeping." "Housekeeping," I said, and almost laughed. "Yes." "Tomorrow at 10, he offered. "Works." He hesitated then. "Celeste, should your parents' counsel be looped?" "Not yet," I said. "This is the prep talk before cameras roll." I hung up and added a new line to the grid. Estate context, clarity, counsel, copies. The first voicemail from my mother landed as I was labeling folders. She was careful, clipped. The voice of a woman auditioning for good parent. "Celeste, we've noticed anomalous bank behavior. If you did anything impulsive, undo it. We'll cover it. Just call me." The second came half an hour later, veneer cracking. "This is unacceptable. You don't close accounts without consulting the family. You need to fix the card for the cabin. Your father and I have guests this weekend." I set my phone face down. My body stayed steady. I remembered when it didn't. At 6, Adam arrived with takeout and that look he gets when he's carrying a question he won't force me to answer. We ate on my floor because I still hadn't bought chairs. After, he sat with his back to the wall and watched me sort contracts into piles. "Vanessa liked another story," he said gently, like telling me the weather. "She's around." "She can window shop," I said. "I'm not for sale." "You don't have to do this alone." "I know," I said. "I'm just choosing to." He nodded, and the nod felt like permission I didn't ask for but needed. At 8:12 p.m., Dad broke his silence by email, not text. He prefers the formality when he's building a case. Subject: your recent actions. "We gave you a place to stay. We supported you through every setback. You don't retaliate by endangering the family's stability. If accounts have been altered, restore them immediately. We will be in touch about the cabin. Your behavior is reckless and disappointing." No greeting, no sign-off, just verdict. I answered by not answering. I filed it in a folder labeled Script. 9 p.m. brought the bank statements I knew were coming, cleanly addressed to me, confirming closures and updated custodianship. Facts are so quiet when you let them speak. At 9:37, Lauren again. "Mom's crying. You happy?" 9:38. "You've always been jealous of this family. Get help." I thought of the lake at dusk, of a dock that held my first courage and my last summers. Jealousy isn't wanting to sit at a table that starves you. It's wanting to stop apologizing for leaving it. The kettle sang again. I made chamomile and opened my laptop to check Dan's doc queue. Escrow draft. Pending. My pulse ticked faster. Not panic. Velocity. I scrubbed my thumb over the mug's rim and watched the steam fog my glasses until the room blurred like a watercolor and then came clear. At 10:04 p.m., Donna, Faith, and family returned with a message crafted like a prayer request. "Honey, your mother says you're not well. We've all been there. We lash out at the ones we love the most. Please don't let pride ruin what can be repaired. We have resources," Vanessa says. Delete, block. The night did what nights do. It softened and then stilled. Miles texted a photo of a lamp he found on a curb. "Want. It's ugly enough to be loved." I told him yes, because I'm building a life where ugly loved things are allowed to stay. At 11:56, a final text slipped in from an unknown number, the punctuation stripped like a dare. This will not go the way you think. I blocked that too and wrote 3 words on the last line of the grid before I could forget them. Own the ending. Sleep didn't come easy. My brain cued the day's sounds and played them back. Ping, ping, ping. Mom's tempered rage. The smooth click of Harris's calendar sliding me into position. Dan's calm. Somewhere past midnight, I remembered my grandfather showing me how to untangle a fishing line. Don't yank, he'd said, big hands careful. Loosen where it catches. Pull through. Gentle beats force. In the morning, the property tax retry would fail again. The dishwasher warranty tethered to that emergency card would ping twice and then send a letter. The first lawyer's envelope would begin its journey from a downtown office to a very clean mailbox with a very nervous woman waiting by the window. I set my alarm for 7:15 and placed the phone face down. The apartment hummed. Pipes, neighbors' footsteps, the city's tired heart. I closed my eyes and let the hum hold me. Banks don't roar when they change a life. They whisper. The trick is deciding which whispers deserve an answer. Mine did. Morning came gray and thin, the kind of light that doesn't tell you whether the day means peace or war. I dressed like it was both. The meeting with Harris, my father's estate lawyer, was set for 10 sharp. His office smelled like expensive restraint, leather, paper, and something faintly citrus that made you feel underdressed no matter what you wore. He greeted me with a polished smile that had probably survived decades of family politics. Miss Rowan, he said, gesturing toward a chair, this is unexpected. I imagine it is, I said, setting my folder on the table. He opened his laptop with the gravity of a priest unfolding a confession. How can I help? I want clarity, I said, on the will, on any trusts, on what exactly my name is attached to. He blinked, just once. Your parents haven't... I know, I interrupted gently. This is preemptive, not reactive. Harris adjusted his cufflinks. You're entitled to know certain details, of course. But given your parents' relationship with the firm, I'm not asking you to betray them. I'm asking you to confirm my legal position. He hesitated, then leaned forward, lowering his voice. You realize this will reach them, sooner or later. Eventually, I said, everything does. He nodded slowly, then began typing, the sound like soft rainfall over polished wood. I'll pull relevant documents. You'll receive copies by the end of the week. Thank you. I stood, shook his hand, and caught the flicker of curiosity behind his professional calm. He wanted to ask why now, but years in this business had taught him not to. Outside, the sky threatened rain, but didn't commit. I walked the long way back to my car, passing window displays of handbags I'd never buy, and people who didn't look like they were being audited by their own blood. By the time I reached my apartment, my phone had become an alarm clock for family panic. 8 missed calls, 4 voicemails, 3 texts from Mom, escalating like stages of grief. We can talk about this calmly. You're being manipulated. If you don't fix this, you'll regret it. Then one from Dad. We will not tolerate this behavior. Return our call immediately. Their tone was identical, 2 sides of the same courtroom. One whispered guilt, the other roared authority. Both meant the same thing. Control disguised as concern. I was still staring at the screen when the buzzer blared. The sound hit like a siren through the walls. For a second, I thought I imagined it. Then again, longer, insistent. I pressed the intercom. Who is it? A pause. Then, it's me. Open up. Graham, my brother. My jaw clenched. I hadn't seen him since Christmas when he'd called me the family wild card with a laugh that could cut glass. Now's not a good time, I said. I'm already here, he replied. I could have ignored him. Should have. But I'd started this war in daylight. Hiding now would make it look like guilt. So I buzzed him in. The door swung open 30 seconds later. He stepped inside like he owned the air, eyes scanning the room with the same superiority that used to make teachers love him and waiters hate him. Nice place, he said flatly. Didn't think you'd go minimalist. Didn't think you'd drop by without a text. He ignored that, tossing his jacket over the arm of my couch. What the hell are you doing, Celeste? Be more specific, I said, leaning against the counter. The cabin, the accounts, Mom's furious, Dad's talking about lawyers. You've completely lost it. I almost laughed. Funny choice of words, considering who raised us. This isn't a game. I'm aware. He took a step closer, voice lowering. Do you want money? Is that it? Because if this is about the inheritance... Stop, I raised a hand. You sound just like him. He froze. This isn't about money, I said. It's about boundaries. Something this family has never understood. Boundaries? He scoffed. You sold our summer place. You're cutting off their accounts. That's not boundaries. That's sabotage. It was mine, I said evenly. Legally, morally, historically, but not emotionally, right? Emotionally, it was the shrine to their perfection. I just took my name back off the altar. His jaw tightened. You're making a mess you can't clean up. No, I said. I'm cleaning up a mess I didn't make. He stared at me for a long moment, searching for the old version of me, the one who flinched when he raised his voice, who tried to explain herself into forgiveness. He didn't find her. Mom says you're being influenced, he said finally, by Adam, that he's... Stop right there. He did. This isn't Adam's doing, I said. This is mine. Every signature, every closure, every silence. For the first time, something like uncertainty flickered behind his irritation. You think this makes you strong? He asked. No, I said softly. It makes me free. He shook his head, muttering something under his breath, and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled. The silence afterward wasn't peace, it was aftermath. I sat on the edge of the couch, heartbeat loud in my ears. I wasn't trembling, just tired. Power, it turns out, weighs as much as submission. An hour later, a knock replaced the echo of the slam. Not the buzzer this time, a measured, deliberate knock. I opened the door to Dad. He stood in the hallway, posture military, coat immaculate, expression carved from disappointment. Can I come in? He asked, though it wasn't really a question. I stepped aside. Sure. He entered like a man inspecting property damage. His eyes traveled over the walls, the small table, the plant by the window. Every flicker of judgment was silent but deafening. We need to talk, he said finally. I assumed we were. Your mother is distraught. She usually is when she doesn't get her way. His gaze snapped to mine. Watch your tone. No, I said quietly. I think I've watched it long enough. He inhaled sharply, like a man realizing his old tactics no longer worked. You've embarrassed this family, he said. You've sold something that wasn't yours to sell. It was mine, I corrected. You don't understand the consequences. Actually, I do, I said. For once, I understand exactly what I'm doing. He stepped closer, voice low and dangerous. You're throwing away everything we built. I didn't throw it away, I said. You never let me hold it. For a long time, he didn't speak. The silence between us thickened until it hurt to breathe. Finally, he straightened, shoulders squaring back into the armor of control. You've made your point, he said. I tilted my head. No, I said softly. I'm just getting started. He turned without another word, opened the door, and left. The slam this time was softer, but it echoed longer. When it finally faded, I exhaled and laughed once, hollow and real. Adam texted 20 minutes later. Thinking about you. Everything okay? Define okay, I typed back. He called instead. I heard from my dad that Vanessa's been asking about you, he said. Says your family's worried. They should be, I said. You're really doing this. I already did. He was quiet for a second, then, you're not the woman I met a year ago. I know, I said. I like her better. That night, I poured myself a small drink and stood by the window. The street below buzzed with city noise. Horns, laughter, a siren in the distance. It all felt far away. On my phone screen, an email notification appeared. Harris and Cole, document packet ready for review. I smiled. The estate net had begun to unravel, thread by careful thread. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the black sheep. I felt like the wolf who stopped pretending to belong. The next morning, the city woke, under a sheet of pale light and low clouds, the kind of weather that looks like it's holding its breath. My inbox was already a battlefield, subject lines stacked in red, urgent, call me. What did you do? This is serious. The cabin sale had closed overnight, funds transferred, signed and sealed, irrevocable. I sat at my small kitchen table, coffee cooling beside the laptop, and stared at the confirmation like it was an artifact. For the first time in years, something with my name on it belonged only to me. A text from Dan appeared. It's done. Cash cleared. Expect the official paperwork by noon. You did good, Celeste. 2 minutes later, the storm hit. Mom first, her name flashing across my screen again and again until it blurred. Then Dad, then Lauren. Each voicemail louder, more desperate, as if volume could rewrite a legal record. I didn't listen, not yet. I walked to the window and looked down at the street. People moving in predictable patterns, everyone obeying the choreography of their lives. And there I was, finally off script. By noon, the messages turned from pleading to venom. Mom, you've humiliated this family. That cabin is part of our legacy. Lauren, you sold our childhood, Celeste. Dad, we'll see you in court if we have to. I almost laughed. They loved pretending legacy was built on love. It was built on leverage. At 12:47, a new email appeared. Property taxes unpaid. Lake Marlowe cabin. Exactly as planned. Their auto drafts had failed twice, their backup accounts sealed off by my signatures. Every system they'd trusted had turned obediently toward me. I poured another cup of coffee and opened the email from Harris and Cole, the estate packet. The lawyer had kept his promise. Scanned PDFs, tidy folders, bullet points summarizing trusts and shares. Nothing shocking. But seeing it written, official, black on white, felt like being handed the blueprints of a house I was no longer trapped inside. My phone buzzed again. Adam. Heard from my sister that your mom's calling people. You holding up? I'm okay, I typed, just watching the world adjust to gravity. He replied, you need dinner, my treat. No family drama, just me, food, and your favorite kind of silence. Tempting, I sent back, but I want to finish this wave first. He sent a single thumbs up and a heart. The simplicity steadied me. I finally played the voicemails. Mom first. Her voice high, brittle. Celeste, this is madness. The cabin isn't just property, it's family. You can't undo decades of memories with a signature. Call me before this goes any further. Then another, a few hours later. This isn't you. You're better than this. I know you're hurt, but you're making a mistake you'll regret. The third message came from Dad. Enough is enough. You're acting out of spite, and it's beneath you. Call Harris, reverse it, and we'll pretend this never happened. That line, pretend this never happened, landed like static in my ears. Pretend was their favorite word. Pretend there were no favorites. Pretend Mom's words didn't slice. Pretend silence was love. No more pretending. At 4 o'clock, the door buzzer rang. Once, twice, sharp, purposeful. I froze. Miles's voice came through the intercom. Don't freak out, but you might want to see this. He lived a floor down. If he was using that tone, something was wrong. I cracked the blinds. A black sedan sat at the curb. And beside it, Mom, in pearls, in the middle of a weekday, clutching her phone like it was a weapon and a lifeline all at once. Dad stood beside her, jaw tight, face red. Lauren leaned against the car, scrolling, pretending she wasn't part of the theater. I didn't move. They rang again. Then Mom's voice through the intercom, polished and rehearsed. Sweetheart, we just want to talk. This isn't like you. Miles opened his door downstairs. You're trespassing, he said calmly. Leave. Dad's voice rose. This is a private family matter. You don't understand. I understand you're on private property, Miles replied, and that she doesn't want to talk. Mom sighed, loud enough to echo. This is how she's treating her own parents? After everything? My pulse drummed in my throat, but I stayed back, invisible behind the curtain. I could hear their voices bounce against the brick walls of the courtyard. Neighbors peeked out from balconies. Lauren shifted, embarrassed. Dad puffed up, ready to perform. 5 minutes, he said. That's all we need. You've had decades, Miles answered. Your time's up. Silence. Then the sound of car doors slamming. Engines starting. A retreat disguised as dignity. When it was quiet again, I stepped outside. Miles was leaning on the porch rail, arms crossed. They're gone, he said. You didn't have to do that, I murmured. Sure I did. You were shaking. He wasn't wrong. The adrenaline had finally found somewhere to go. Thanks, I said. He shrugged. Anytime. I went back upstairs and sat on the floor, surrounded by the paperwork, deeds, statements, contracts, all the things my family thought they controlled. I stared at them until the letters blurred, then picked up my phone and sent Adam a text. Dinner, now, please. He showed up 40 minutes later with takeout and that familiar look of concern mixed with pride. What happened? They came, I said, like a performance review. He handed me a drink. And you didn't open the door. Not this time. He smiled faintly. Good. We ate on the couch, legs tangled, the room smelling of soy sauce and rain. He talked about work, about a client meltdown that wasn't his fault. I laughed, a real laugh, one that felt like breathing again. When he left later that night, he kissed my forehead and said, You did the right thing, Celeste, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. After he left, I walked to the window. The black sedan was gone. The street was quiet. The storm had passed. For now. But quiet doesn't mean peace. It just means everyone's catching their breath before the next round. I looked at the deed again, my signature clear and final at the bottom. They wanted obedience. I gave them closure. And for the first time in my life, the silence belonged to me. By the next morning, the messages changed tone. Gone was the fury, the thunder of control. What remained was the drizzle of guilt, slow, deliberate, soaking. Mom's first text of the day read, "We were only trying to help." 7 words that sounded like an apology, but weren't. Then another, "You've made your point. Let's move forward as a family." A third followed minutes later, "Call me, please." I stared at them while the kettle boiled, steam fogging the window. The pity had returned, neatly rebranded as compassion. But I recognized the bait. It always came wrapped in please. My phone buzzed again. A number I didn't recognize. A voice message. I hit play. "Celeste," my father began, his tone low, almost reasonable. "I think we can put this behind us. The money from the cabin is immaterial compared to the damage this has caused. You're hurting yourself more than us. You've always been impulsive, and this just proves how unstable things have gotten. Let's fix it before it goes too far." There it was again. The diagnosis masquerading as dialogue. They couldn't win through outrage, so they switched tactics, rewrite the story, cast me as the fragile one. I poured my tea and whispered to the quiet, "Not this time." The rest of the day unfolded in eerie calm. Emails from Dan confirming the final closing paperwork, a short note from Harris, documentation delivered, file copies retained for your records, and one message from Adam that simply said, "Dinner tonight, no negotiation." When he arrived, I was still surrounded by papers, neat stacks of proof that I hadn't imagined any of it. He stepped over the folders, holding takeout in one hand and a small envelope in the other. "What's that?" I asked. He smiled. "Lease application, downtown, little place near the water. You could work from there. Start clean." I hesitated. "Start clean sounds expensive." "I didn't say alone," he replied. I looked at him, really looked, and felt a softness I hadn't allowed in weeks. The kind that doesn't ask you to surrender your armor, just to rest it for a moment. "Let me think about it," I said. "That's all I'm asking." We ate in comfortable silence, punctuated by the hum of traffic outside and the occasional buzz of my phone. By now, I didn't even check who it was. If it mattered, it would wait. After dinner, Adam gathered his things. At the door, he paused. "You know they're watching, right?" "I know. They're waiting for the crash." "Then they'll have to wait a long time," I said. He nodded, kissed my cheek, and left. I watched the hallway lights flicker after he was gone, then went back to my desk. The final deposit from the cabin sale had landed. Real money. My money. Not hush money, not inheritance, not charity, just consequence. The following evening, I opened social media, something I hadn't dared to do since this all began. My last post, a picture of lake water from months ago, now carried a thread of new comments. Not from strangers, from family. "Lauren, you've embarrassed us all." "Mom, family should be sacred." "Dad, we wish you healing." And beneath them, Vanessa, my boyfriend's ex, who somehow always found her way into the scene, had commented a single word, "Wow." I almost smiled. Of course she had. I closed the app and opened my notes instead. At the top of a blank page, I wrote, "Things I've learned. Silence is not surrender. Family love without respect is a leash. Freedom doesn't have witnesses." Then I added one more. 4. We were only trying to help means we wanted control back. The next morning, an envelope slid under my door, handwritten, my mother's script. Inside was a single folded page. "Celeste, your father and I may not understand why you did what you did, but we still love you. We hope one day you'll see how much we sacrifice for you. We want you to know the door is always open." No return address, no signature at the bottom, just Mom and Dad in matching ink. I held it for a long time before folding it neatly back into the envelope and placing it in a drawer. Not to save it, to remind myself what closure actually looks like. That afternoon, I met Dan at his office to sign one last form. He handed me a folder and said, "This is everything. You're officially clear." He paused, then added, "You handled this cleaner than most people with twice your experience. You'd be surprised how many never walk away." "I almost didn't," I admitted. "But you did," he smiled. "That's the difference." When I stepped outside, the air was crisp. The city was loud again, impatient, alive, indifferent. Exactly the way I liked it. That night, I posted one final photo. Not of the lake, not of the cabin. Just a simple picture of sunlight hitting the surface of my coffee. Caption: Peace isn't always quiet. Sometimes it hums. Within minutes, the familiar names appeared in my viewer list. Mom, Lauren, even Dad. And then, as always, Vanessa. I didn't block any of them. Let them watch. Let them wonder. Because this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about rewriting the story they kept telling. They'd painted me as the unstable daughter, the fragile one, the black sheep who broke under pressure. But here I was, stable, deliberate, calm, and the only thing breaking now was the illusion that they ever held power over me. If they're waiting for me to crumble, they'd better bring a chair. It's going to be a long wait. Because I'm not coming back. Not for pity, not for approval, not even for closure. The door they left open is just decoration. Mine has already closed. Quietly, cleanly, finally.